Good afternoon. Welcome back to another episode of the Hopecast. How y'all doing?
I am doing well. This is my daughter, Shaylee, and she jumped on one of my other podcasts and said, Dad, this is like really fun. Brings her back to the radio days when she grew up with me in radio, so microphones don't scare her a whole lot. But I think today what we want to do is examine what it is. Let's try that again. What it's like to be a child when your parents going through this and you're 700 miles away or 400 miles away, when you can't be there with them all the time. You're getting your news from whatever source will give it to you, usually mom, brother, second, third hand stuff. So go ahead. You can start this journey from when I told you and rip the Band-Aid off or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. And I did look it up today, get those numbers. It was 1,045 miles away. Felt like lifetime away, but yeah, first time I ever found out, I was actually driving from work to go to an eighth grade graduation from my eighth graders were going on to high school. And so I was driving from the elementary school over to the high school. And I always call mom and dad on the way home. And so I was just calling them. I'm like, hey, yeah, I'll go into this graduation. So excited for my eighth graders, so proud of them doing whatever. And dad's like, hey, can you talk? And I'm like, yeah, I can talk. Like, that's what we're doing. And he's like, so had some issues a while back. And he was talking to me about, was it kidney stones or something in December? And I was like, yeah, I already knew about that. Like, why are we talking about this? And he's like, so I went back to the doctor and I don't exactly know. I know you could tell me where you were at in this, but you're like, yeah, they think it might be prostate cancer. And so I shut down. I'm like, no, it's not. I go into denial. I'm like, no, it's not. They're doing whatever testing. They're going to do the biopsy and it's going to be fine. You're going to laugh about this because there's no way. And so he was saying how he got his number or reading a couple years back and then all these numbers. And so I started writing them down. I'm like, I have no idea what any of this means, but I'm somebody that wants to go in and I want to know the facts. I want to do the research. So I'm writing down absolutely pulled off to the side, not writing while I'm driving. And so I'm writing down the 3, 4, 4, 3, all of this. And I was like, I don't know what any of this means. So it's a little overwhelming. But yeah, as soon as I heard that cancer, I just shut down. I was like, there's no way. And then we started talking about it more. And he's like, I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want to worry anyone until we knew for sure. But you're going to be there 2 days after the biopsy because I was planning a trip in July. And so he's like, I couldn't not tell you. And so I am in the parking lot to this graduation. And as he's telling me all these numbers and I'm writing them all down. And I think I even said like, okay, but it's not guaranteed. It's just a chance. And he's like, no, because of these numbers, like it's like a 98.97% chance of it pretty much is. And so then I started crying and I'm like, I have to pull myself together for this graduation. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, do I even go? Like I just a million miles per hour, my brain is just going and I could not just stop and think. And then I'm like, oh my God, I just want to go give him a hug. And I'm 1,045 miles away and I'm sitting in the car by myself. And he's like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, why are you apologizing right now? He's like, because I told you and you have to go into this graduate. I was like, it starts in 2 minutes. Oh my God. So I was like, I got to go. And so as I'm walking, I'm like drying my eyes, trying to like pull myself together, knowing that I'm going to see, my 100 little eighth graders walking across stage. And my vice principal sees me and he says, whoa, like what's going on? I was like, no, I'm fine. He's like, no, you're not. He's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm okay. And he's like, what do you need? I was like, nothing. And he's like, can I give you a hug? And I was like, yeah. And so he gave me a hug and I started crying further. I was like, restroom. And he's like, down the hall to the right. So I went to the restroom, pulled myself together, and I'm sitting there and I don't even remember the graduation. I think I clapped at some point and I was just sitting there thinking and rereading those numbers. My coworker, she was the PE teacher, ended up leaning on her a lot. She had breast cancer back in the day. And so she's been through that personally. She didn't have much of a family, so she didn't understand the father-daughter relationship that I have. But she was somebody that I was able to really lean on. And so I told her, and she's like, why are you here? She's like, go home. I was like, what, the eighth graders? She's like, they're gonna understand, like, go home. And so right after everyone was done, we got to do this little meet and greet. And I ended up leaving after and didn't stay for the little celebration thing. Gave my hugs and I went home and I told Steven, I was like, hey, my dad called me today and he told me that, he might have cancer. And he's just like, I'm so sorry. And just gave me a hug. He's like, what can I do? I just need a hug. Like, that's all I need right now. And so didn't really talk much about it just because I think part of me was still in denial, just not knowing for sure and trying to figure out what all of this means. Another huge support system for me is my friend Brenna. She's in med school right now. And so, you go on Google and it's like the danger, death. And it's just like popping up at you and you're like, oh my God, like overwhelming. I was like, I need actual facts. And so she has her database that doesn't automatically jump to death. And so she's able to help me. Obviously, we talked to, Dad more and was able to kind of figure out what some of those numbers meant, but she was able to help break it down as well in a way that wasn't as scary as Google. And after the surgery, she was one of the people that I leaned to really, really heavily because she helped me understand. Like I said, I want to know the facts, and those facts are scary, but she was able to kind of talk me through all of those. So I was able to kind of understand a little bit more. So that was, whenever I first found out, whenever I went on my trip in July, we ended up going down to the beach. I don't know how many tests had been between then and the time that we went down. I know that he had his biopsy, but I don't think we got the results yet, right?
No, we had the biopsy definitely by the time you got there.
Mm-hmm.
I told you after we went through, I believe it was the CAT scan, and they said, look, there's a map. Maybe it was no, it's probably the MRI. And they said, you have a pyrad 5 lesion, and it was big. And so that's when I told the kids, and it was weird because I had to make a lot of phone calls. And the easiest way for me to do that is, hey guys, I have something to tell you. I don't want to freak you out. It's not good news, but it is news that you need to know. And I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. And so I said, I have prostate cancer, and drop that bomb on them. Well, you get a splinter and you go, no, is that Norwegian pine? Because if it is, I could get, something bad from it. And the Google has you dying. But when you get these numbers, and it's weird that she followed the same mental pattern that we did when the doctor said, you have cancer. And then after that, it's an episode of the Peanuts, and they're all, and we're trying, and we're going, what? And thank you, someone is there to listen. And like we learned last time, record the conversations. But I was lost. I didn't know how to tell the kids. And, by the time I got to the other kids in the phone call thing, it got easier. But every time I did it, they broke down on their side. Sorry. So what do? They have to know, but at the same time, it was tearing me up to have to tell my kids that. And then they're all away from here except my youngest. And so she was trying to figure out what's going on. Of course, we're talking about it nonstop because it's on your brain constantly. And they're, hey, what do you want for dinner? I go, I don't know. Let's have chicken. Did you know that if your PSA is, and I was throwing all these facts at people and they're all shut up. But I was able to talk to Shaylee about this, and she asked questions, and they were good questions. And when I found those answers, I was able to share those. But what I didn't know is the entire family had little sub-conversation groups going on Snapchat or whatever, where it included 2 of them over here, and they were trying to figure out, what do you think that means before we involve mom? What did you find? And so they were doing research. We were doing research. And at the same time, we all came to that same conclusion. Dad has cancer. How do you deal with it from the distance? Or as a child, how do you deal with it when your parents get that news and they tell you? Because that initial shock's one thing, but how did you deal with the aftermath?
I did go on the Facebook page. I think you invited me to it like as soon as you told me. So reading on there, I read a lot of like the spouses or the like kids that post on there. I think that's what helped me. And you had mentioned it on your previous episodes where you're like, what do I say? Like, how do I tell people I'm there for them without just being like, you need anything, let me know. It's like, and I'm not just saying that as a canned, if you need anything, let me know. Like, I just felt so helpless, especially so far away. So it was really like, what do you need? Like, how can I help? And we would be talking about literally anything else. And I'm just sitting there like, I have these questions. Do I bring them up now or do I bring, like, he's not talking about it right now. So maybe he doesn't want to talk about it. And so I'm trying to think of like, when do I ask these? And then at some point I'm like, okay, I got to know, you said your PSA was whatever online it says. And so we would talk about it. But there was a couple times that I'm like, I don't know if I should even be bringing this up right now. Or there'd be several days where we hadn't talked about it at all. And I was like, is this what he's wanting or is he wanting to talk to us? So I'm trying to figure out what he's thinking again, while over 1,000 miles away. And a lot of times just reading it through text or on conversations on the way home and trying to figure all of that out. And so that was really hard. And just knowing like, what can I do for the surgery itself? He was saying, don't come down. Like it'll be a quick surgery, 4 hours and it's out, it'll be good. And so I didn't book those plane tickets and I was really back and forth with that one. I had some friends that really a lot of support. We talked about, what do you do whenever you first know? It's finding those supports. Also finding those distractions for me help, researching like crazy. And then whenever I need to set it down and go, I could see my dog laying down in the background. We went on a lot of walks, trying to clear our mind. And I opened up or started a club with my school just to get as busy as possible and try to keep everything, once you're sitting down quiet and thinking about it all, it gets a little scary and Google doesn't help that. So lots of reading. I think that's what I did the most is read other people's experiences, the numbers, what they meant, medical. I think that helped the most initially. And then talking to other people that have gone through it, maybe not exactly prostate cancer, but any cancer in their life, either family members that have gone through it or themselves. Talked to Brianne a lot, which was kind of cool because I hadn't talked to her in a while. So being able to reach out with her, did some art that kind of helped me. That's how I go through a lot of things is, just draw whatever it is. So did a few of those and just a lot of distractions, a lot of reading. So I think initially that was it.
You're literally answering all my questions before I can get to them. I was going to ask you if you traveled there. And also was going to ask what helps you feel better when you start thinking about your dad being sick. So every time a question pops up in my head, you answer it.
Nice. Yeah, that trip that I had, because I had that plan before for the one in July, and then we're kind of that escape. So we drove down to the beach and stayed at a beach house, and it was amazing. I found out that they were doing sea turtle releases, baby sea turtles. And so I signed up for a thing to get notified when these releases are happening. And there hadn't been one yet. We were at the right at the beginning of it. And so I was like, no, it's probably not going to happen. I literally woke up from a dream that I got the text and I got all excited. And then I woke up again and I was like, ah, man, that was a dream. And so I was like so excited for this. And then I woke up at 5 a.m. and the text was there. And so we got to go to the beach and see, do you remember how many it was? Like 250?
Yeah, it was 246 or
There you go. Baby sea turtles. They had just hatched overnight and we saw them released and it was just unreal experience. Something all of us had wanted to do. And so that was just like our trip. It's kind of cool. A seagull swooped down and grabbed one of the babies and we're all like, oh my God, yelling, how could that happen? And then little sister Bailey was walking along the beach and she's like, guys, come here. And we're like, what do you like? We'll get there. There's jellyfish washed up on the beach. So we're thinking it was one of those. And we're like, yeah, we'll get there. Like, it's fine. And she's like, over here. And she's like whispering. We're like, okay. And we go over and the one that the seagull had picked up had dropped it on the beach. And so dad like kicked the water to like help it go out into the ocean. So it's just the whole experience was just like, it was a magical trip. It was awesome. Got to watch another like 150 something babies be released the next day. And so it was just a really good, grounding trip. Just went out there, closed their eyes and just felt the water and the sun and everything. It was awesome. So that was the last time I had seen him before his surgery was this trip. And I'm so thankful we were able to do it. It was an incredible time and amazing trip. And then we went back and, spent a couple of days at the house with them. And we had talked a lot about it and, the surgery and everything, his choice of why he chose the surgery over radiation. And to me, the math is making sense. So we talked a lot about that. And then I was like, are you sure you don't want me to, schedule another flight? He's like, no, it's going to be easy. It's like I said, quick surgery, 4 hours quick, whatever, surgery, and then it's going to be out. I'm going to be good. And I was like, okay, if you say so. Like, he's like, don't take off work. I'd be starting my new job at that point. He's like, don't take off work. You don't have the days. Like, don't worry about it. So I was like, okay, cool. So I didn't. And I was wearing this shirt. Do it.
Do you have regrets about not showing up?
I don't like to regret things. It is the way it is. I can't go back and change it. So it's hard for me to think about the fact that I wasn't there. But at the same time, we've talked about it a lot. And he said, like, in the moment, he just needed, my mom with him. And so it got a little overwhelming with everything that happened after the surgery anyways. I do understand where, like, I definitely could regret it. And there's been a while that I've thought that, but like I said, I don't like to regret. Can't change the past. Just gotta, do what you can moving forward. So, and we
That
didn't know.
attitude.
Yeah, we didn't
You did a
know.
good job.
Yes. But we didn't know everything that was gonna happen. Everybody, even, Serge and everything is, you're gonna be out the next day. So, at the time, it made sense for me to not, use a sick day that I didn't even have to fly down there for a day. But I don't know. Like I said, I've thought a lot about that, but you can only do what you do. And so I was wearing this shirt. I have my phone on me, and I was teaching at the middle school now. And they are very strict about phones, not just with the students, but with the parents. But I had that thing attached to me, and I was like, guys, just forgive me, got to do it right now. And so one kid smarted off and said something, and I snapped at him. I was like, my dad's in the hospital, and I don't want to hear anything from you. And they're like, okay. I'm like, it's one day, y'all can get over it. So, yeah, I was following along, and I think mom was trying to let us know what was going on without trying to scare us too much. Because I got the notification and it said, all went well with the surgery. He should be out within however long. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. There's just like this feeling, like this weight on my chest was just like lifted. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like, he made it out of surgery. Hard part is over. She said everything went well. Like, it's good. And she's like, I should go see him in about 30 minutes. And then 30 minutes later, I didn't hear anything. And then an hour, I didn't hear anything. And then however long. And she's like, there were some complications with the breathing tube. Like, we're trying to figure it all out. And that's whenever my heart sank. And I was like, how bad? Obviously we don't know anything yet, but like, complications, that's not good. And so still trying to sit there, trying to, remain calm, teaching perspective to my little middle schoolers, trying not to check my phone as much, but every time it went off, I was running to it. And she was doing what she could to update us on everything, letting us know what was going on. And she had a little group chat, siblings, grandma, mom, and I. And so she was updating us, and grandma was going on there every 5 minutes. Oh, what's going on now? What's going on now? What's going on now? And mom's like, you need to stop. It was a little overwhelming. And I can't believe, what she did to remain calm, be able to communicate everything with us while, seeing what she saw and going through everything. So the first picture that I saw of him right after the surgery, I broke down. Like, it was so hard seeing him like that. And I can't imagine her being there and seeing it and then still, getting on, letting us know what's going on and doing so in a way that's not freaking us out, but keeping us informed. So that was another time that I cannot say how thankful I am for my friend Brenna. It was kind of going along with everything that she was studying in med school at the time. And so everything that we were saying, she's like, oh, we just talked about this. And so she was talking me through it all. I felt bad. I know she's busy in med school, but she's like, please, like, don't hesitate to reach out to me. This is why I went to med school, is to help people. So she was awesome, much better than Google. Brandy was like, whatever you do, don't Google it. And I was like, no, I have to. And it was that scary little alert, death. And I was like, oh my God. So it was bad. It was real bad. And then at that point, that's whenever, the most that I did regret not being there. And I'm even looking at plane tickets, and I'm like, I need to get there. And they had quadrupled in price of whenever I had last checked. And I'm asking, and they're like, no, stay there. Like, everybody's telling me, stay there. It'll be okay. But it was hard to stay there. It really was with everything. And as soon as he would start getting better, something else would happen. And it was just time after time. As soon as he would get home, it was like the next day he was back in the hospital. And so being away from, I'm like, I'm just going to drive there. Like, I can't do this being so far away. I have to see him. And so after his second port went in with his ulcers, no, abscesses. There we go.
Abscess. There you go.
I was like, I'm going to go see him. And so I had a half day and I was supposed to stay for parent teacher conferences. And I talked to my admin. I'm like, hey, is there any way I can go? They're like, oh my goodness, absolutely. Get out of here. So as soon as my half day of school ended, I jumped on a plane and I got there 9 o'clock at night. But I didn't tell him I was coming. So he was in bed at this point. He was at home. My friend picked me up from the airport. We ate dinner in Austin and then drove me to Llano, and I went to bed and it was past midnight. I don't even know what time it was. And he's got all kinds of security cameras and everything. And usually they would alert him like, hey, motion at the back door. But for some reason it had like updated or something. He needed to check permissions and he didn't get the notification. So he didn't know I was there. And so mom comes in and she's like, wait. And so I sneak off to the side and she's like, hey, I have something to show you. And I walk around the corner. He's like, no flipping way. And so I go over. I had just had foot surgery. And so I was in a boot. I couldn't even walk. And Bailey had broken her ankle. That's another thing poor mom had to go through. Broken ankle. So now she was doing completely everything by herself. And I'm sitting there like, I should be doing more. And it's like, you're broken too. You can't do anything. And I'm like, no, I got to be doing something. But so I waddle over, give him a hug. We have a picture of Dad, Bailey, and I all laying in bed. Bailey and I are both in a boot. And he has his ports all over. And I was like, man, what a memory. So I was able to be there for the weekend and I helped out as much as mom would allow me. She kept yelling at me, telling me to sit down, but I was beyond thankful that I was able to go there and visit and see him. He said that me being there helped him kind of get up and motivated him to move a little bit more. So beyond thankful I was able to do that and able to see him. So I don't know what else.
Well, you hit on a couple of things, and I guess we should go, okay, what the heck happened to you since you were doing that? Had surgery, everything went fine. 4 hours and 15 minutes. Went in, it was robotic, everything was good. Doctor tells my wife, hey, everything went great in surgery, and he goes on to the next operation. Well, they had me in there getting ready to go to recovery, and I'm getting all whatever, and they take the breathing tube out, and I aspirated stomach acid into my lungs. So I have filled my lungs with stomach acid. It froths up. I have bloody, frothy stuff coming out. My O2 dropped to near nothing. They throw me, and I can remember them jostling me so bad from one gurney to the next, like they do, on the shows. You see them go, no, and I had just had major surgery, and here they are throwing me around. But at this point, I didn't care. They put me in the CT, and they're squeezing the oxygen bag. And my brain's going, this can't be a good thing, right? But it can't process what's going on. And they did the CT and they go, holy cow. My lungs were completely full. When my wife finally got there and that 30 minutes turned into 3.5 hours, my O2 was at 68. I think is what it was at that time. She goes, if this is good, what was it? What did you go through before? Well, they put me in ICU, 100% oxygen, full flow, full mask, for 24 hours. Then I went to the intermediate care unit. I still had the 100% oxygen, full flow, different mask. And then I went to an open mask and and there the whole time they were all, let me guess, you were on oxygen at home. You had a walker, you had a this, you had a that. And I said, no, I came in here as a 58-year-old man and I'm sitting here right now dying is what feels like an 85 or 90-year-old man. And you guys did this. I didn't have it. And I got so frustrated. My wife was so frustrated, telling him over and over and over again, no, he wasn't on oxygen. No, he didn't need breathing treatments or, whatever. But going through all of this, once they were moving me from point A to point B, first thing I did when I woke up and I looked over and my wife was sitting on the couch and I said, I want to go home. And at this point, I don't know what home I was talking about because my brain, if I was going to go see him, I was going. I didn't care. I had to get out of where I was. And so she's freaking out and I go, I'm going to get sick. And you know, those green little container, little barf bags they have, I filled up the cone with blood that I threw up. And she says, hey, he just threw up a bunch of blood. What do I do? And he goes, just throw it in there. Well, then the doctors are, how much blood did he throw up? Was it blood? Did it come from his lungs? We need to test it. I go, it's in the trash, but I didn't say that at the time because I was in ICU. So my wife was dealing with all this stuff, trying to keep the kids, and trying to be positive through all this. And I go, I don't know how hard, I can't even imagine what she went through with all this. But then when I was released, I came home, went back to the hospital the next day. I was running a fever of 104 point whatever. And they get there and we got there and they said, oh no, it's not that bad. And they don't consider a fever until they get over 100. And it was like reading 99.8, but quick over your forehead thing. I go, look, we have high dollar thermometers at the house, and it says 103.8 and 104.2. He's sick. And they go, well, we don't see anything, and sent me home. The next day, I was sick again. My other daughter drove me to the hospital. They sent me home again. I talked to my regular doctor, or my wife did, and said, look, he needs to come in and see you. It was a post-op visit. And so I went in there and they said, you know what? Something's wrong. You're running a fever. We're seeing it. Go to the hospital. We're going to do a CT and we're going to find out what's going on in your gut. And I'm putting it in as stat. You need to get there. So the third time I went back to the hospital, they go, well, I'm not seeing this fever again. And my wife said, get a different thermometer. And they got one that went in my ear and they go, oh my gosh, it's 103.6. What are we? And I go, duh. And so all of a sudden, everybody was in a hurry to do something. I go, it's been 3 or 4 days like this. They found a big abscess in my stomach. It went in, drained out lots and lots of fluid, put a port in. And I said, I'm all good. And while I was in the hospital, they wouldn't let me leave. They had me on the IVs. They had me on all this stuff. Everything shut down. My kidneys, my kidney function was nothing. It said, you're at stage 4 death and your filtration rate and all of these things were so out of whack. And they go, you were sick, sick, sick. Well, then they found another abscess that was really deep and they were going to go through my back. And they go, wait, we can't do that. We have to go through the front. He's got another port. So now here I am and I go into another procedure to have another port put in. And the kids are dealing with all this, like, what's a port? What abscess? What did they find? E. coli. What are they talking about? And they go, wait, did that happen when you had your biopsy? Or did that happen because they nicked something in there? But they did say, you were quite the bleeder. But I was in the hospital for, a week, I guess, together. This all happened over like a 10, 12-day period, but I was in there for 7 or 8 days. And so all of those complications, and then they finally got things back together and they go, you know what, your filtration rate's still bad. We're going to get you an appointment. I go to that appointment in 2 weeks. So I still don't know what's going on with that.
Wow.
Yeah, welcome to it. Everything's in a hurry, huh?
Yeah.
So, Shaylee, you got through that aspect of it. But now on the backside of it, you say, wait a minute, you had prostate cancer. I have a better chance of getting breast cancer. My brothers have a better chance of getting prostate cancer. What do we do? And hey, go get your PSA, get a baseline, get it done every year so you can see if there's a trend so you can catch it early. I made a comment the other day. They said the majority of the cancers are caught early because if, you're like really young, it grows fast and your PSA jumps to 138. I don't know how they get PSAs in the thousands, but people are saying my PSA was 742 and I'm all, what are you talking about? Mine was 8.8 and I freaked out. But that would be the extreme, it's everywhere scenario. But, now we're looking at my PSA. It was undetectable. The last one was detectable, but it was like really low. And I go, I was outside the margins. So now they have to worry about what's going to happen the next PSA test. Now I have the whole family freaking out over this. And then I go, if it was someone else in your family, you would be freaking out. But it's weird. She went through emotionally what you went through and answered questions because we all do that. We hear the C word, our brain shuts down. We go to the Google and we go, or Chat GPT if you're Sean, and you try to ask questions. And are you getting that right information? All this stuff she was reading, she goes, well, Dad, they said this. And I go, but look at their numbers. They're not, everything isn't the same. That's why those treatment options are so different. But it's scary beyond belief for me to put my kids through that. And I kept apologizing. And they go, it's not your fault. You didn't choose to get cancer. I go, yeah, but we wouldn't be in this if it wasn't for me getting cancer. And I know we tried to talk through that. I still need to talk to her again because it's still not working.
Right. Yeah, when the doctor told me I had cancer, I made a mental note not to go to Google because I was already freaked out enough. And like your daughter, when you read something, you just read the worst. So I try to stay away from it.
And that's what they have on that page that she's talking about. Because we mentioned it before, the people that go to surgery, get out 3.5 hours later, 7 to 10 days later, get a catheter out. They don't leak. They don't have problems. ED is not an issue. They never come back to the page to tell you how wonderful it went. So how do you get out of that dark zone when you're that far away and you're hearing it? And I mean, I could hear it in her voice every time she picked up the phone. She was scared. She goes, I'm going to lose my dad. And I go, nope. There's a reason I'm still here. I went through a lot of crap. So I think a lot of it is we need to spread the word. And I think, we're on at least a really good start of getting that done.
Speaking of that, that's a nice little segue. Somebody left us a message. Can I jump over to that real quick?
Sure.
So this is on our podcast page over at Spotify. Somebody had left a comment. Now I got to find it. It's okay. Jim Jensen, one day ago, he said, thank you for sharing and doing this. Early 50s was stage 3B PC. Did surgery in November and finished 6 rounds of 34 radiation. PSA 33.8, Gleason 4 plus 4 equals 8, aggressive PC. So I responded back to him and told him God bless him. And I just want to let you know.
He had surgery and then he had to go back and do the radiation?
Yes, correct.
Unfortunately, I think that's the road I'm running down. But if one thing I've learned with all of this, there's people, they go, oh my gosh, I was a 5, I was a 4 or 5, and it was everywhere, metastasis. Here I am 12 years later, and I'm with you. And that was stuff they did 12 years ago. You were on the cusp of, hey, your stuff is newer than what I dealt with not too long ago because the advancements are crazy. And whoever's doing your surgery has done a few more between when you talk to him and when you're going to get your surgery. So like I said, yours is going to be 3 hours in, you're going to get out, catheter comes out, you're going to be dancing.
Yeah, I hope so. That's the game plan.
Yeah. So how do you prepare for the other side? We had her on and she was going, what do you do? What do you do? But some of the stuff that she was talking about, meditation and relaxation, and she even has scripture stuff. But some of the information that he had or that she sent was really good stuff because it was talking about when you get all anxious and you go, what happens? Dizziness, breathlessness, lightheadedness, tingly hands and feet. You're freaking out. You're on the verge of a panic attack. You're getting all those things because your brain's going too fast. And that causes you to truly go into the panic attack mode. And so you go, what do? The first thing is that breathing. And it's weird that it does it. It's, that if you learn the 4 square, if you learn just in through, breathe in 4 counts, hold it, exhale through your mouth, inhale through your nose, not in a big rush, just slow down. It really does work. Tensing your whole body up and then holding it for 30 seconds and releasing it, something that will get you through that time so you can get better in the next minute, if that makes any sense. It's mind over matter. How do you not be scared? I'm going to tell you right now, you can't not be scared with what we're going through and what our families are going through. She was over there going, oh man, I'm scared. What happens? Would you have felt bad because you weren't here if something would have happened? And the answer better be no, because I told her to stay home and not do the other trip. And the fact that it did do a reset and somebody breaks into my house at 12:30 and all of the phone didn't go off going, you have trespassers, could have been a different thing if it had. But like I always said, she talks so loud, I would have heard her as soon as I turned the corner. So when she's not sick, she talks loud. So Shaylee, where's your brain right now?
I don't know. I think it's just a lot of, taking it one step at a time. I did want to mention, I really liked what she was saying on your or 2 episodes ago, I guess, about how you imagine, best case scenario and just see yourself like going through it. Best case scenario. I've had a therapist tell me that before, and I kind of just rolled my eyes. I'm like, that's delusional way of thinking, because like there's no way it's going to be that perfect. But then she took it this step further of, okay, now imagine just like one or two things go wrong, and then, slowly work yourself up to the worst case scenario, and then imagine yourself getting through it. So I think that's really helpful for going through any hard thing. So I really appreciated that, and I listened to that a couple of times just for that part, because I thought that was really good advice. I don't like the delusional, oh, everything's great, rainbows and butterflies, and I think that's why I like doing the research and being able to see all of it, because I can kind of think like, okay, this is what it's going to do. I like to be, middle way. It's not going to be rainbows and butterflies, but we're going to get through it. And I'm thankful we did. As for me in the future, obviously, yeah, I'm going to, start getting screened, whatever. I've known that, cancer has been in our family for a long time. I'm not as worried about it. I don't know, maybe it's denial, but I'm just like, it'll happen if it happens, which probably isn't great, but it's just for me, it's whatever. For you, I kind of count down those days, and once it starts getting to be that 3-month recheck, chest kind of tightens a little bit, and you're kind of holding your breath. You get a phone call and say, hey, can we talk? I'm like, yep, how's it going? What's up? And then it's like, oh, I was just gonna tell you, what Stella did the other, talking about the dog. I was like, oh, thank goodness. And so it gets nerve-wracking for sure, but it's you gotta, get through it one day at a time, and not anything you can do sitting here worrying about it going forward. We got a month and a half left till our next recheck, whatever it is. And we got to know that, we're going to get through it, and hopefully this time I'll, be with you and be able to help out as much as I can, and just got to see what happens.
How long ago was your surgery?
August 28th. So it'll be June, I think, when I do the PSA next. I think that's right. I don't know. It was just when I saw that it was actually detectable, I went, oh, huh. The first one you go, it's residual, I'm okay, right? And I was all kinds of happy. And then I go, but when they say it's outside the margin, you have stage 3, that just means it's outside the margin, and there's a potential that it's going to be somewhere else. And so what's weird for me is we took that trip to California this last week, and I go, my hip hurts, and I go, I have these, and I go, no. That's because we walked too much and climbed up mountains with dogs and, rock collected and all that. But it's weird in the back of your mind. You go, what if that pain that I've been dealing with, like the other stuff, you just go, I'm just getting old. It's a little scary.
What was your PSA just recently?
My last one, the one that they did, was like 0.1, 0.0. Yeah. It was just now detectable. Before it was less than 0.001 or whatever, they do the super sensitive PSA thing, but it's not detectable to the point where they're going to start doing radiation, but it was there to where now we have to watch the next one to see if it goes back down or if it continues. So, that's just one of those things we deal with. But I look at all of the people that have been through this before me, and I go, you know what? Technology is catching up and making things a little easier. You're hearing this crazy story I went through, and I go, but your numbers weren't there. You didn't have the same, that's what happens. We all have prostate cancer, but at what point does it become different than the person you're talking to? And that's where that site completely confused me, because, they were going, why would you do surgery? And they go, why would you do radiation? And they started getting ugly. And like I said, I think now it's swinging a little more positive, but I haven't been on there all the time, because I'm telling you, when I was in your shoes leading up to that, you'd pick your phone up, and anytime you open Facebook, it would go, prostate cancer awareness, let's talk. And I go, get out of my face, But then when I said, I don't see that for a while, it came back to bite you. You go, I need to know what's going on. So,
yeah, it's very depressing over there.
It can be. It depends on what rabbit hole you run down. But, that's true on the podcaster page, too, I noticed. That people are all, if you don't have because this is a mic with whatever, your podcast is going to be terrible. I go, it's the content, my friend.
Exactly. It's like everybody's opinion, man. Like if you don't think the way they think, it's completely wrong. You're wrong. It's like, just like politics. That's why I want to talk to you about politics.
Yeah, because I'm always wrong.
Well, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying anybody. It's just
No, she knows my whole life I've been wrong. Isn't that right? Yeah. It depends on how you're raised, on how you're going to trigger on things like that. But, it's crazy that, she got through the thing that far away, and you talk to my children, and I do have 5 children, and it's strange, the conversations about what were you going through? I have a daughter that said, oh my gosh, and she was the one going, don't get on Google, although she was on everything she could do to find stuff to share with. And that's when all those little sub conversation groups started happening. And they'd go, I have a question. Is there any way that this is? And I go, oh my gosh, you've been talking to somebody else. Okay, back to basics, and now it's like, talk to me. What do you want to know? Because there's some things we haven't even gotten to yet that will obviously, this is a long journey. It's complicated. We have people that say, hey, thanks for doing this. That's why we're doing it, just to talk about it. So, I wonder what my daughter is going to go through. Guess what? We decided to have a daughter on that can give us a perspective. But that's what I am so excited about, is getting people on here that can share their stories and go, this is what I went through. This is what I didn't need to worry about. This is what I should have worried about. And if we can get those pieces of information to people, I think it will help the masses. So just one person at a time, go get your PSA checked, and we win.
yes, definitely. I have another question for your daughter. So you are a artist. You teach art.
Yes.
So after you found out about your dad's diagnosis, did you focus your art on like cancer or being sick or anything like that? Did you draw anything?
Some of it I did. I did a couple t-shirts because I was like, oh, it'd be cool if people bought these. And I raised money for him, and then I didn't advertise it enough, so it didn't really go anywhere. The one I'm wearing is one of them that I designed. There's like a hummingbird design on the back. Hummingbird for my mom, and it says, his fight is my fight too. And so I sold a couple, but it was to like friends and family. So yeah, I did some of that. I did a drawing of a deer with the ribbon around it. So I did a couple pieces, yeah. It wasn't completely focused. A lot of it was things that like it was about dad rather than cancer. So that was a lot of it.
It's very cool.
I'll have to show you this deer. She turned her drawing into a blanket. So it was this, the really soft throws. And she goes, what did it come out like? And I'm looking at this thing and I go, this isn't, it's big and it's like really cool. And she goes, Dad, you do know that's your deer, right? And so she took a deer that I shot in Kansas, turned it into this deer that has the cancer ribbon on it. There's another one where hey, tattoo ideas, and that's something that we thought about. I go, I have one that I designed. It was all the stuff from the beach trip that we had before, because I told you that was my grounding moment. That was, whatever happens is going to happen. And I've done everything I can, right, for my kids. And you go, what do you need to tell them that you haven't told them? When you start getting into that dark zone, you need somebody to pull you out and go, hey, let's go do something, right? And so I think that support staff, when she's out there by herself, it was, I am so thankful for technology now that gets everybody together. But she has done more artwork than she's admitting that she's done with this. And that was Cam, wasn't it? Yeah. See that feedback that we'll do. I figured it was going to be your dog answering, and we just let them talk for a while.
Yeah. He wants to join in.
Yeah, she would too. The other one will. Chetney's going, hey, I want to be on camera. No, don't do it. Nope. She goes, I was going to have her up here. But anyhow, any other questions?
Sorry.
No, I think I'm good.
Well, I know we scratched the surface with you, but I think you did a great job explaining what you went through. And again, everyone's going to have a different journey with anything. See, look, now she's going to scold her dogs. She never scolds her dogs.
Yes.
So now you said we have a guest next time.
I'm going to try to get a guest, either maybe Healy or somebody else with that's dealing with the issue. So I'll start reaching out here in a little bit.
Okay. Because we're getting closer to your day, aren't we?
Yes. Yesterday, it's April 23rd, so today's March 24th, so inching closer.
That was the time I started going, okay, wait a minute, this is real. And it gets that week, and you go, okay, this is like really real. Because that denial is going to go away eventually, right? And now I have to deal with the day. So like she said, mentally walk through the day, everything's going to be great. And we're going to keep it positive.
Yeah, what worries me is I'm oddly calm right now. And like I'm gonna like it's all gonna come bursting out like a volcano here shortly. So I'm not ready for that day. But
You know what? Maybe that day doesn't happen.
yeah, I'm hoping.
Maybe you're preparing yourself for that day to be that way and it's not going to be there. So you can't freak out about it, right?
Yeah,
Because it might happen. And you go, I'm not worrying about it. That's why I'm calm. And that's the mindset you need to stay in.
yeah,
Yeah.
Uh,
You've
fun.
had, and she knows the experiences you've had with that procedure you had with the 6 people helping.
God, that was
We talked about that on our drive too. I go, can you imagine? And she goes, they couldn't do it because there was a fever and it wouldn't take. And I go, I don't care if there's can you at least try? Let's just, maybe you'll hit something.
so. That's a great point. Their excuse was it's hot to the touch, so we can't do anything. I'm like, well, you can still give me a damn pill. You know what I'm saying?
Something to go, you're going to do what? All right. Can I watch? Get me in that mindset because that would be crazy.
Yeah. Even the fact they didn't even give me an ibuprofen. They didn't give me nothing, man.
And then you had to come back the next day and trust them to unpack and repack it.
For 30 days after that. Every day for 30 days. It was the worst 30 days of my life.
And then you go, that gauze is getting shorter and shorter. Soon they're going to be, I don't know how long I would go back.
100%.
Yeah. But then you go infection in that, into the butt. No, they obviously saved you, but ouch. You don't know what we're talking about. Back up an episode. You shared it.
I have a claim against the VA right now. I'm trying to get some compensation for it. I also have a claim for I haven't filed it yet, but I went to, I was on a ship, so I did a lot of shipboard firefighting and also went to Treasure Island and did a week's worth of shipboard firefighting. And it's funny, the VA doesn't even know I have prostate cancer right now. I got an email like 3 days ago saying, hey, would you like to join our prostate research? And I was like, wait a second, you guys know about prostate cancer? So I did some research, and apparently the firefighting foam that I used, it can cause prostate cancer, and bladder cancer. And out of the 5 guys, and like I'm 40 years, it was 40 years a couple months ago that I left for the Navy. So I've been removed from the Navy for like 35 years. Out of the 5 guys, well, there's actually 4 of me count is 5. Out of the 5 of us that still talk, I have prostate cancer and my buddy has bladder cancer. And we all went to the same firefighting school and fought the same fires.
See, and they don't know what's causing. You know what I'm saying? With all the different quote causes for it, now the fact that people are talking about PSA and stuff, the numbers are going up, but the numbers are also going up because of, remember the Roundup thing they have going on for other cancers, things that we thought were okay. Aren't. Remember, doctors used to smoke. What you need to do is smoke a pack of Pall Mall non-filters every day. You'll be fine. And you go, yeah, I'm going to sound like that, and they're coughing up a lung, but it's good for you. So, things change, but when you're exposed to things and it's not your fault you're exposed to it, Agent Orange, I mean, all of the things that the military has had to deal with, they better step up and help people with this. If there's truly a correlation between what you were exposed to and this cancer, it's ugly, and somebody needs to step up and be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And, I don't want anything out of it. I just want a little help with some medical bills, man, because these things are piling up right now.
Yeah, they do. And then I added a lot to the backside of mine, and thank God for insurance. But at the same time, I had it on the 28th. And then it was September 1st, our insurance rolled over to a new year with a brand new deductible. And I'd already met my deductible. I go, do you realize if they push this 2 days, I am going to have to start over and I'm going to have to pay everything. And they go, well, you realize you have to pay, and they want big money up front. And you go, well, here, what if you don't have that money? What are they going to do? Right. And so my brain is thinking, you and I talked about this. What if there was a way to help it? Who do you help? When do you help? How do you help? The kids have their Ronald McDonald stuff and they go to, and right, there's lots of things that they're doing. But, for people like us that you go, I didn't ask for this. This is that silent cancer, the good cancer. Right. See, she's heard it too. You can tell. She goes, come on, but people say it. Oh, well, it is. But I think I think it would be good to be able to go, I can help someone. Let's all get together. Let's have that communication. Let's figure something out. But right now, this is that education side. And I think everybody that comes on is going to teach us something, and it's going to take us somewhere. And so once we get all of our mental questions all lined up, we know who to have back on the air, and we can go through that. But now we have a month for you, and we'll keep your mind off of it. No, we'll keep your mind off of it by doing a podcast about it. How's that?
Well, it makes me feel better when I talk about it. If I just bottle it in, I feel like I'm going to, so it helps me to talk about it. So, I mean, and I've been podcasting for like 4 years. So, but yes, absolutely there is, because the people have already started reaching out to us, which is awesome. And we're international now.
I know. I like that.
It's pretty awesome.
There's a person in Uganda, somewhere. Where are they? We don't know. Anyhow, they're out there, and thank you if you're doing this. And the best thing you can do is share this podcast with people, because you never know who's going through this. And if you do hear of someone that goes, oh my husband just got diagnosed with my whatever, try to get him here, because we're just two real people that are going through a real bad time. Yes. And we're trying to help people through it. Whatever you decide is your decision, because that's the stuff you've been dealt with. Exactly. Your numbers, your stuff.
Your story is a lot different than ours. So
yeah. So I think it'll be a good thing. Thank you, Shaylee, for jumping on with us, and we will do this again. You have something to say, I know.
I forgot to bring up my one-liner of positive attitude.
This is when you do it right now.
And I didn't bring it up. I have a list of them. I can't think of any right now off the top of my head. Dang it. I screwed that one up.
Never play leapfrog with a unicorn.
Boom.
All right. There you go. We'll leave it with that. You guys, until next time. See ya.
Yes. Thank you. And thank God I only got the good cancer.